That was what that fossil looked like on July 10th, 2018. That's the tooth hole right there. This is a neck piece. It fitted onto, there would have been like a backbone part, etc., etc. That's at the very base of the skull, and at some point between July 10th and July 15th, I was clearing this rock here, and the back part of the skull got knocked off, and that neck piece, well, yes, I donated it to the school. But I guess I didn't want to lose any part of the fossil, and the only safe place to preserve it was in the science, was at the, St. John the Baptist School. They had like, they deal with science, and that's about the best place to do it, to give it to. That's a tooth hole. And that in there is part of the jaw hinge. The upper part of the jaw hinge. This fossil is in a sedimentary boulder from the KV formation, Kilo Victor KV formation, here in St. John, New Brunswick. There you can start seeing more of that jaw hinge. That's bone, like a fossil bone, completely petrified. And here is as soon as there, that boulder right there, I call it boulder, is actually another fossil. It's from a separate animal. And it does not match that head. Now if you look at my finger, you know that fossil isn't very big. About 7 inches across. If the other part of the skull was there, it would be 7.5 inches across. This is Jurassic period material. This boulder was dropped in there. It was put along the coast here as armor against the ocean and weather. Now, I didn't realize it, but all this skin had caked on grime. And fortunately for the reptile fossil, this was well covered over for 180 million years. So the weather did not get to all of the skin, and it was very well preserved. On July 15th, after I started knocking some of this stuff down and the wave action started washing over this more, the hairs started coming out. The hairs stood up on the skin, and there were hairs in the material around the fossil. They were long gray hairs. Now, that's what it looks like with the neck piece knocked off. And you will see the hairs. There's a loose one right there, and there's one right there. You'll see it momentarily. Now, there had been some erosion on the skin, by the tidal water action, and it started peeling back some of the skin. In effect, what it did, it started, some of these hairs that had been encrusted against the skin started standing up. That's one of them. And that there is a good breeze, about 10 to 15 miles an hour. The neck piece, as I said, I donated to St. John the Baptist School. Now you'll see where I actually plucked that hair. I put the hairs in a baggie, and unfortunately lost a baggie. So the only hairs from the fossil that are saved were on the neck piece, donated to St. John the Baptist School. And of course, on July 10th, I notified City Hall. I notified the Collections Department at the New Brunswick Museum, and I notified Brent City's Provincial Archaeology Manager's Office, and I got no replies, no response, no one called. So July 10th to August 15th, I labored away at this site, and I finally got so fed up I contacted the media. And around August 15th, the CHSJ TV News people showed up. It was Tamara Steele. And she did a good interview. I showed her this fossil and the other fossils and some artifacts, and she contacted the museum, and the museum immediately sent 2 people out, and they gave me a malarkey story. They said this was Waterwork limestone. They carried out their test and told me it was Waterwork limestone, that they didn't want to start legal proceedings against me for excavating a dinosaur site, that they would rather look the other way. Well, what could I say? They walked away. They turned over the indigenous artifacts and the other fossils, and they just walked away. But I did not walk away. I donated the indigenous artifacts to some Aboriginal people at Big Cove, New Brunswick. And the fossils I donated to St. John the Baptist School. And I will continue to do so until Don McAlpine of the Collections Department of the New Brunswick Museum gives in and gets Blue rescued to a museum where it belongs. I give you my word. This is the way it will be.